in school you never given problem statements, but you never given problem statements to go solve. Unique.
That's a
in
very
that
interesting
part.
observation. Huh? I didn't think about it that way. What are these 21st century skills? It's funny that you are calling them kids. You just stepped out of college. Hi, this is an amazing moment I've been looking forward to for a long time. Welcome to episode 2 of the Do School podcast by KRUU. Today we have some special guests with us, a different angle to the KRUU universe that we will learn about today. But more importantly, I want to emphasize why we are doing this and talk about why we are starting this podcast, and then go into more of the details. I want to share that we want to be the trusted voice in learning by doing and project-based learning in India. And the best way to do that is to share our learnings from all stakeholders in the KRUU universe openly so that everyone can benefit from it. We are at the cusp of a new universe of learning, a new way of learning, which is taking us away from just reading books and understanding to understanding by doing. And what better way to learn by actually talking to people who have done it. And today, the first episode was with students, so they were the actual consumers of the product and the experience, and they told us why it was such a great experience for them. Today, we'll explore another angle to the same KRUU product, which is the enablers of the success of each project. Right? So these are our student volunteers, our research assistants, the people who have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make something like this happen. So today we have the second part of the KRUU project team, which is the people who make it happen from the student community. So please welcome Vivek and Maitri to the second episode of the Do School podcast by KRUU. So before we jump into your KRUU experience and how it worked, can you quickly tell us a little bit about you and how you got pulled into KRUU? Maitri, we'll go with you first.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Thank you so much, Harish, for this wonderful opportunity to come interact with you. I think I have been in touch with KRUU from over 2 years now. So a little about me, like you said, I am Maitri. I'm a computer science graduate from KRUU. I was part of the founding batch of 2022, and that is where I met Professor Anil. At KRUU, like I said, I majored in computer science and I picked up a lot of math and business courses on the side. Post KRUU, I went on to work as a software engineer at ThoughtWorks, and currently I work as a program manager at Appraised. It's an edtech startup in Bangalore. So when I met Professor Anil, I was always fascinated with how he thought and how he would creatively weave things together. I remember it was in his creative expressions class that I actually built and established a food bank in KRUU in our university's kitchen, and that is what had inspired me to say weave logistics, weave problem solving with social impact. So I've always been in awe, and when Professor went on to start KRUU, it is what most excited me to work closely with him under his guidance. And that is when I started working as a research assistant with him. Yeah, I think that's about me, and that's what drew me to KRUU.
Amazing. We need more people like you. Vivek, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. First of all, as you said, I'm Vivek. I belong to Pune. I was the second founding batch of KRUU University, so Maitri is my senior. I completed my graduation in psychology recently, and I have been doing internships in teaching. We teach for India and such organizations, and that's when I got to know about KRUU from again my seniors who were working with KRUU for like more than 2 years, like Maitri and Pranesh. And what really drew me was the edutech platform, and also how really KRUU worked. It didn't just work with the uh, textbooks things, but also it went beyond that, and that's what really got me. Uh, Plus, they really focus on 21st century skills, which I really love. And in fact, I got to know a lot more about myself. I learned a lot in the process while teaching kids, that I am able to like guide kids for 21st century skills, and that kept me with KRUU for like more than 2 years now, and that has been drawing me towards KRUU and working with.
Vivek, let's talk a little bit about these 21st century skills. Right? You used that term a couple of times,
Sure.
and the Do School podcast is all about making children future ready, right? By doing hands-on work. What are these 21st century skills, and why do you think these are very important
It's true.
in this day and age? And what is the gap that any organization like KRUU can help fill?
Yeah. I believe the 21st century skills are those that, so basically, as it is very much quoted, that modern problem requires modern solutions. Um, so it's more like, today's problems that we have, like anything throughout the world, the smallest one, for like there's a lot of garbage or something like political issues, something that needs discussion. It needs a lot of critical thinking these days, and it needs different angles. And I believe that it's not just the adults who would have everything, but also the kids who have grown up in these times, and they could really help in that. And what really KRUU helps in that is, KRUU plays the role of enabling these kids to actually reach that stage where they can actually think and contribute towards such issues. Uh, and the gap that it covers is, it goes beyond the normal education, which is more of textbooks, or just normal skills that are very much required in the education system. But what does KRUU does is, it focuses on what do really kids need, and how can they tackle something, how can they start with very small issues in their neighborhood, and then go beyond that. So I would say, even though our education system does give the knowledge, KRUU enables them to use it in the society, and provides them the skills.
Interesting. I got two things there. So one, I really like that modern problems require modern solutions. I think the meme comes to life here. Uh, I got two things in what you just said. One is taking the learnings that you get and then applying it to society. And second was problem solving, whether it's a small problem or a large problem. Solving problems and problem solving as a skill, fundamental skill. I think that is a good observation. Maitri, anything you would add in terms of what are these 21st century skills?
Yeah,
If I
sure.
were to make the top 10 list, right? Let's make a top 10 list of between the three of us, right? What
Yeah.
are the top 10 list of 21st century skills? And I'm very curious about this because I have a 6-year-old daughter. So in some time, this list will become very useful to me. So let's start. So problem solving.
I think I would
What else?
echo most of the thoughts that Vivek mentioned. However, we live in an information age today. No problem can be solved in isolation. You can't know everything about tech and go ahead and solve a tech problem, right? You have to be able to think what is the social impact, what are the laws in place, how is this going to affect the end user. Um, so because we live in such a complex age, I think there's no one way or one aspect only, and which is why you need multi-dimensional thinking skills, uh, of which, to be able to get that, I think most important skill today for students is critical thinking. So maybe that is the one you can add to the bucket.
Cool. So I'm actually taking a few, not just one.
Yeah.
So in addition to problem solving, the second one is critical thinking.
Yes.
I think you kind of weaved in multidimensional thinking, but I think it's a separate skill,
It is.
which
It is.
is critical thinking is the outcome, but multidimensional thinking is the preparation for that outcome. So I think that
Correct.
third one is important. There's a fourth one you casually mentioned, but I think it's important to pull it out separately, which is, I would actually go ahead and call it empathy,
Yeah.
right? Because you are thinking about what the impact of your actions on society and others. I think that empathy, kindness, compassion, whatever you want to call it, I think that is very important as a skill for the 21st century. Okay, we have about five. Let's do five more. Anything else you can think of?
I think most solutions that work today are very creatively thought to most problems. I think that is an underlying skill that sort of weaves everything together.
Correct. I think that is a 100% like a given, not just in 21st century but any century. Even back in the day when Einstein said creativity is more important than knowledge, right, or information. My favorite example is how something that most mathematicians and physicists of that age could not crack. Here was this clerk in the Swiss patent office who cracked it just by sitting and staring out of the window and imagining thought experiments, right? So his way of thinking was not math. His way of solving relativity was not to sit and put down things on a piece of paper. His way of solving some of the most fundamental wonders of the universe was just to sit and imagine. So I think creativity, imagination, definitely big 21st century skill. Okay, what else?
I think another skill that is that makes your problem solving better is to be able to lead, to
Hmm.
be actually able to say collaborate in a group.
Hmm.
You cannot work in silos when you want to solve big
Correct.
problems. So you work in a group, you enable everybody, you solve a common problem. But to be effectively able to lead it, I think that's another must have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Team leadership, collaboration makes sense. Three more. Vivek, we'll go back to you. Any you want to add?
Um, I would say, I mean, the oldest one, but also the most important one, communication, as it always changes over time. How we communicate, how we present, how we
Yeah.
put through a point across. And I think, yeah, it is very much important in these times since, as Maitri said, the technology is ever changing and it can't be the same solution. So it can't be the same way to communicate it too.
100%. Agree.
And
I'll
Harish,
add two from my end. Sorry, go ahead, Maitri.
no, I think while a conversation is progressing, I think one more skill that comes to my mind is being analytical, uh, because you have so much of data flowing in. To be able to look at that data, to be able to at least be comfortable working.
Yeah.
I think that kids are also picking up these days. You see 8th grade, 10th grade kids at KRUU as well learn to work with data, learn to segregate at least sort of clean data. I think that's very
Hmm.
important.
Makes sense. I think that's a. Uh, it used to be an underappreciated skill, but nowadays it has become a core skill.
Yes.
How to leverage data and how to understand truly, not by hypothesis and anecdotes alone, but actually look at data and understand what is truly real. Right. The two I wanted to add, and I've seen this over time, and I think it'll get even more important as time goes. One is dealing with ambiguity or uncertainty. So I don't know what will happen tomorrow, right? So one of the skills I want to give my daughter is if you don't know what's up tomorrow and you can be comfortable with that, that's a great place to be, right? So which means uh, if you don't have the path ahead of you or the next course or the next degree or the next job or the next role is unclear, being fully at home with that uncertainty is a very underappreciated skill. And the last one I would say is anti-fragility. So this is a concept that has become very popular nowadays, but I feel in this century and the next century, that part being able to thrive from chaos, right? So there is fragility, which is breaking under pressure. Then there is resilience, which is not breaking under pressure, and then there is anti-fragility, which is thriving under pressure. Right? Looking forward to things are breaking, it's going to be awesome, right? I'm going to do so well because I can deal with things breaking around me. Amazing points. I and maybe skills that are not as well explained or well taught in schools because we have so many other things to do. right? We are so busy studying the subjects, preparing for exams. Um, it is just a matter of finding the mind space to do this, and I think in that context, KRUU is doing an amazing job, and I hope that we can bring this kind of skill collection or skill bucket to everybody. So let's go into depths of a few of these. I want to talk about how it has worked. Talk about I know the projects you have done. So maybe pick one project each, right? Maitri, you can pick one project. Vivek, you pick another project. Project where you work with students and you saw one or more of these skills actually come to life for somebody. Uh, I want to hear some real examples of how. First of all, let's address the question or the doubt that is project-based learning the best way to develop these skills? There are multiple ways, right? You can build communication through presentations. You can build uh, anti-fragility through preparing for exams. These are things which can happen in multiple ways. How does project-based learning help? So let's address that question first, and then pick one example each and run through how you saw that transformation or skill building happen in some of the students you helped.
Okay, I could go first. So Harish, for me, why project-based learning works is because if you see I think the key idea, if we were to step back and realize, is that what are we trying to do here? We're trying to make students future ready. We're trying to make these kids who are barely in their primary, secondary school, ready for what's coming next, what's coming in university, what's coming once they're out there in the industry. So I think that's what we're out here to solve. For that, if you see most problems today that we are to solve in the real world, uh, they are problem statements which you have to then say A, do a user research, B, come up with problems, scope out what exactly is the problem of the larger problem, then think about solutions, and then go out to build one of it. That's how you naturally problem solve. What now sets project based learning very uniquely here is that we're trying to replicate the exact same thing that's done today in universities, in higher education, or in industry, right, for somebody who's in school. In school, you're never given problem statements. You given areas to learn. You're given subjects to read, but you never given problem statements to go solve. So I think that's a very unique
That's a
thing
very
that
interesting
project.
observation. Huh? I didn't think about it that way. That students are never given problems to solve. that's that is so that's interesting, and that's also unfortunate, right? That the thing you will
Yes.
be doing every day of your life, you're
Yes.
never given that in your school.
Yes.
In a way,
Def-
um, we parents or teachers or schools try to give you a very smooth ride,
They
and
do.
we
They do. And
abstract a lot of
everything in
problems for
school.
you. Yeah.
Yes, and I think I come from, I think today most schools do try to incorporate a lot of these, but I come from a place, I studied from Reliance School, and I come from a place where there was high focus on you having to score well and you having to say only concentrate on what you're doing, right? So there's no collaboration, there's no empathy, there's no problem solving, there's just a bunch of physics problems. I have to think about them on my own and then solve it. So there's very little of that aspect coming in, but that's very different from what the work I do today. So I think that's a very good thing, and why I would, if given a chance, go back in time and actually learn this way. So yeah. But coming to the second part of your question, which is one of the projects say I directly work on. So I was a research assistant for students from grade 5 to grade 12. We did a bunch of projects. The projects depend based on this category and the skill level of folks who come from different grades. But I think there were two projects were very interesting. I'll sort of explain both, but I'll go slightly deeper in one of those. So one was trying to understand the history of a place using its geography. So The beauty is that these are two separate sort of thought processes to think about. One, you say history, so then when you naturally think of history, what comes to your mind is events, timelines, great wars that were being fought. When you think about geography, what comes to your mind is physical terrains, political areas, what are constituencies. But how do you make sense of the geography around you through the history of the place? Was a very interesting project, sort of that I worked on directly. And the second project, which I will be talking detailed about, was Internet of Things. So, how do you think about elderly care uh, and use Internet of Things as a solution for it? So, and which is very pertinent, right? Because if you see the world today and where it is going, except for India, where most of the population is still young in their mid 20s, you have Japan and a lot of other countries where in the next 10-20 years, the major population is going to be elderly and over 60 years of age. So enabling these students, the beauty of the project is enabling these students to think about this in the first place. Today most families are nuclear families where there's very little empathy or exposure to these for these kids to elderly citizens, right? So making sure that they think about it, and simple exercises, right? Now that you have to think about um, Internet of Things as a solution for elderly care, you have to know your user. So the first step to this is you go talk, and that in itself is opening up so many doors. You empathize, you build a user persona, you understand their needs, you understand their routine, because a 10-year-old kid has a very different routine from a 65-year-old adult who's retired. So I think you start there. Then the second piece to the project is you do your user research, you build a persona. The second part to the project is that you now think about the new age tech. You think about the possible solutions. You can control your air conditioner on a click of your button. You can control your fire alarm on a click of your button. You can set alarms for your medicines and what time you have to take those medicines. uh, all that is possible, right? But now you start thinking about a product. So there's a lot of product design and a lot of product building that goes in there, right? So you wireframe. So you actually try to imagine whether you want this to be an app, you want this to be a physical watch, you want this to be a smartphone which is just for this purpose. um, so there's a lot of this thinking, and actually if you closely look, this can actually turn into a startup. Like I am a big startup fan and startup geek. So uh, and students, when they come up with things like these, they push boundaries because they think more and more creatively. We're way more biased. They're not, because they're not that exposed. So I think, yeah, that's one project that I enjoyed the most, working with these kids. These were what, 6 to 8 graders, but the kind of solutions they came up with, I myself did not think that this could have been done.
Amazing, amazing. It's funny that you are calling them kids. You just stepped out of college. I feel like an old man, and you are calling them
Yeah,
kids. It's so funny. Okay,
yeah.
Vivek, over to you.
Yeah. First of all, like why project-based learning is important, I would say I would pick up the same point from Maitri's points, where she said that it's very conventional what we learn in schools, right? And even I come from a government school where it's again they emphasize on academics mostly. So I would say that project-based learning gives us the flexibility to go out and actually do what we kind of enjoy, maybe just explore what we really like something that we haven't done. We going on the ground and researching and doing a good analysis, or even talking to people. We don't get that in schools basically. So I would say it gives us the flexibility to uh, you know learn and practice these things. Uh, and if I come to one of the projects that really struck me, was I would say recently I did this project for autism, for autistic people, where these young kids, I don't know how they pulled it up, but yeah, they had a task to actually create an app or a program where it will help autistic people to express themselves. And me being a psychology student, I know how severe autism is, but I never thought of such issues. I just learned it as a, like, as a chapter of my psychology thing. That's all. But here, these kids, when I was just explaining them about autism, and at the end, the solutions they came up with was like huge difference, like something that even I couldn't think of. And it wasn't just the autism thing, how they came up with the solutions, but also the process, where even I learned that okay, you can actually use a program to do this, and not just be empathetic or sympathetic to autistic people. And these kids were, they were also like sixth or eighth graders something, but not knowing a thing about autism, right from there searching the meaning of it, how it works, what happens exactly, to learning a program, a digital program, and then getting the program to learn how to express. All this process was very interesting, and the way they tackle the issue, uh, it has always been an experience where it's never like I am teaching and they are learning, but it's always two-way learning, where I learn something from them and they learn something from me. So they really opened my eyes, I would say, in that project, uh, where they just went on ground and also did some technical stuff to just come up with a
Amazing.
solution.
I've seen that project, by the way. I was very blown away by the quality of insights and how they built it. But the interesting thing I'm taking away from what you are just saying is how they went above and beyond expectations for you. And it is possible that a group of students come together and they do something which you can't imagine or I can't imagine. But somehow they are able to go beyond our collective imaginations, right? And especially when this kind of a question goes to a large enough group of students where hundreds, maybe thousands of students are working on something like this. How did it change them as individuals or teams? How did it change their mindset? How did they experience learning differently? Can you talk about the post impact of what happened in both these projects?
Yeah. uh, so after the project, what I saw in the kids, so after like this last session when I was interacting with them, uh, the kids were their questions changed drastically, not from like the basic questions, what is it, how does it work, but also, will this work? And like, so I remember a kid asking, so this is the solution, but can I do something better? Can this character, when I give the inputs, when I give the data, will it actually be able to identify more intensified versions of emotions, something like grief? Can I actually program it to that? Now, what I realized is that the kids were not really sticking to the basic emotions, but they were actually thinking a lot more. They were relating. They were not just trying to help, but they were actually empathizing. They practiced empathy. uh, they were trying to get the emotions that are not really expressed much, but also like how to express them and how to make the program go for it. And yeah, that was something that I really learned. And uh, so basically these kids actually learned a lot in the process, and over the time we can see the learning in them. That's what I was saying. These are very little things, like questions, like the how they interact. And uh, this is like a funny moment that I had at in start. Their complaints were, Sir, group is not engaging. What should I do? Should I go for this or should I go for that? And in the last, they were like, Sir, should I work alone? I am working better alone. And Sir, should I go for this? I have additional things that I can add. Should I create a presentation that is much easier to, understand the program that I have been working on? So their priorities changed over time, which really, it really inspired me too. So yeah.
Maitri? That was amazing. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Maitri?
Yeah, I think my key observation was that they had a better grip of the problem. So I would often nudge them. A simple thing that I saw was that in the beginning, when I asked the first, so the project is broken into, say, a research worksheet. So your first step is research, then the second step is to think about the solution, and then think about the design. So you have three sheets. So when I would often send them back after the first call for research, they would often write dummy data, in the sense that they would think about it themselves, actually not go talk. um, but repeatedly through our calls, when we would I would help them realize that what are we doing and how this user research will actually help you understand the solution. I think, resonating with what Vivek said, they gradually, once the why was very clear to them, I think the initial hesitation of going out and talking, going out and figuring out on your own, when you, and like you mentioned, right, when you're left with ambiguity, when there's so much of chaos, you don't know what exactly you're doing, actually being able to step up. I think that I saw, from the place where they came of hesitation to the place where they're making themselves comfortable with this ambiguity, and then being able to solutionize and design. I think I saw a major confidence change. And I think, right, Vivek mentioned, through these questions, it's very reflective of the confidence that you see. Um, I think the second thing, and this is also along the lines of what Vivek is saying, that the shift in dimension, the shift in the thinking ability. You no longer think about smaller things of, okay, my group is not working, or okay, I am not able to work, or okay, maybe I don't like the problem statement. You start to, as soon as you build conversations with them, you realize, they start to realize, and they start to get that interest in, and then you sort of realize that, okay, wait, uh, they figure out the problems on their own, and they figure out that, okay, this is how maybe I can do it better, or this is how I can tweak it to make it work. So being able to gather feedback from whatever the research assistant sort of say, so getting into that habit and coming out with a better, say, a better solution. So I saw massive shifts in those.
Nice. Basically, getting into the the real world problem solving, right? Working with other people, uh, collecting data, dealing with unknowns. I think this is how you would solve a project in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Uh, how did it change you, or how did it positively impact you both? Right, this whole experience. You've been with KRUU for a while. You've seen multiple students. You've helped hundreds of them go through projects. Um, how is that? How has it helped you?
I could go first. I think how it has helped me is that I figured out that I'm super passionate about education, and being able to help. I really enjoy talking to people, enabling them. And I think edtech is a space that I enjoy. So, which is why, if you see, after my short stint as a software engineer, I love problem solving, which is what drew me to software engineering and development. But I soon realized that building and problem solving can be done in more than one ways, and which is why I then moved to edtech. So there we solve slightly differently. We solve for the graduate and above segment, so not really the K-12 segment. But I think seeing how education can change one and many, I think that has really impacted me personally, and I figured what I really enjoy.
Awesome. Figuring out purpose. Great. Vivek?
For me, my purpose is already figured out. I really want to step in the education system as a teacher, and that has been very clear to me from the start. But I lacked the confidence that will I be good enough as a teacher, because it's a huge responsibility, and basically when it came to crew sessions, I remember the first time I was about to start the session, I really doubted myself if I will be able to guide the kids to the right direction. Will I be able to teach them these 21st century skills, which I think even I need to develop at times. So that the shift from having that confidence where I was like, okay, if I'm uncertain about this problem, not a problem. That's okay. I will figure it out while I'm teaching the kids, while I'm having a discussion, and that really changed my perspective on teaching. Like what we have in Kriya is where it's mostly a discussion. We do the reading, we come for discussion in the classes. That's exactly what I did here. I gave kids a good 10 minutes to just go through the worksheet, and then we discussed around, we took different opinions, and I created my own worksheet there. And then I asked them to work on their own. The perspective of how to teach and how to go about, just the concept of teaching has really changed for me. And now I believe much more that I can actually create a much more impact. And uh, that I that I've realized that I'm not good with conventional education, but when it's skill based, when it's project based, I am the guy who can go for it. And that confidence has I have got it from crew itself. um, yeah uh, yeah, so overall, that it has changed me in that case. And yeah, it has drawing me more towards the education system. I would go for it for sure.
Awesome. Um, if you were to describe crew and project-based learning to a student, okay, who's thinking, should I? Is this good for me? Is this for me or not? How would you describe it in one sentence?
I think to me that would be you learn by doing. So a sentence to me is, uh, hey, if you want to learn, this is where you should be. So learn by doing. I think that's. Uh, I tried to structure it better, but I think some echoing some line of that.
uh, for me, it would be, hey, if you want to learn this, let's not just learn it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, uh, Now, slightly tougher question. Right? If you were to explain to a school principal, okay, why they should go for this, and folks who have gone through it know the benefit. They are awestruck by how amazing it is. They are usually advocates, supporters, evangelists for crew. But folks who have not experienced crew, or they think that hey, it's a nice thing to have, but I'm busy with other things. There's so many uh, classes and exam preparation. So many things are happening. This is good. This is great, but we don't have the time. So when you talk to school administrators, principals, heads, how would you convince them, or how would you explain to them that this is something that they should absolutely do?
So I think articulating it to the leadership of the school, that this is holistic development. Um, you impart education, the kid will say the above average kids will say go on to crack IITs and great colleges, but you will not be able to provide a holistic or a great experience to all students that are in your school. But if you want every single kid to not just ace in academics, but to actually do well in life, if you want to prepare your kids for life, then this is what you should be teaching them.
Got it. Prepare for life. Okay, Vivek?
Yeah. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. If I were to convince a principal or some authority for that, uh, I would definitely tell them that yes, kids will be benefited through it and that they will be ready for life. But at the same time, I would say if you really want your students to be equipped with like such skills, and if you want to see your knowledge that you're giving into action into smaller things, like maybe they just taking some leadership activity, something like that, give it, just give some of your time to us. That's all I would say. Then uh, that our sessions actually equip kids with this, with the leadership skill and the confidence to go ahead and demonstrate it in the school and in the community itself. And yeah, that's what I would say to them.
Got it. How can we get more uh, people like you, right? Past students, ambassadors, college students, early career employees. How can we get more people into the crew movement and spread this message of learning by doing? See, this, like you said, we are trying to change or evolve a learning process that has been around for 100 or more than 100 years. Right? So we are trying to change that and or supplement that with more hands-on learning. This is a movement that will take time and it has to come to. How can we message it to a larger audience and get more people on board?
Um, I think the value prop has to be super clear and has to be articulated because somebody say who's an early professional or who's in their final year college, like you said, right? They already have a lot going on, but if we are to articulate it to them that hey, if you come here, it's very clear. Say in a way, it's very clear for the students if they do project based learning. This is what is in it for them, but if you articulate the value prop to the research assistants, say, listen, this is the level of impact you get to create. This is the level of exposure you will get. You will get to network with so many great people inside KRUU and across KRUU network. uh, Another thing is once you say climb up the corporate ladder, a lot of your leadership is gauged through how many people you've impacted, how many you've influenced, how you've worked well in groups and scenarios. So articulating it, and also this is true for universities, right? When you go for your masters, they always see what are different types of internships you've done through your college. So telling them that hey, this is your chance to at a time work with 100 plus kids from schools across the country, across the globe, as crew grows worldwide, right? So um, I think it's pretty simple. Establishing that this is hey, this is not just for the students to learn from, but it is for you to create impact and also learn in return. Uh, and then we should be able to do a good job because everybody who's a teacher at heart, I think most people are. I think at least in our country, everybody loves to talk and to sort of educate others. So I think if we find the correct mindset of folks who are super passionate about education, but also have the intent in them to do it rigorously, because teaching requires a lot of patience. So if you find that persona articulating what's in it for them, I think that should help.
Awesome, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would totally agree to her. Like finding such people and drawing them towards such an impactful platform where we show them that okay, this is what you're gonna create, such impact you're gonna create. And she also covered a really good point that it's gonna add to a profile for sure. So it works as a bit of greed for them too. Uh, Moreover, I would say, how can we draw a lot more such mind like people is we already have a community right now, community of research assistants who has a really good network around them. And in fact, I have so many people, I know so many people who are really passionate about teaching or would love to try it out and just create an impact. uh, so using those networks and also spreading the message of how much like how much are we impacting, like through podcasts, through different engaging sessions and everything. uh, we can definitely not just increase the number of research assistants but also people who can actually diversely contribute in impacting more children. um, so I would say, yeah, just using a lot more resources in that case would really help us. uh, yeah.
And Harish, if we're just ideating, I think one thing that comes to my mind is um, developing a great pool of research assistants from these colleges will also help you build the you student side of things. You tell folks that hey, you will get to work closely with folks who are in say great colleges or great companies. So somebody who's a 12th grader or a 10th grader, you mark them to a research assistant who's or an early professional. Somebody who's a 6th or 8th grader, you mark them to a research assistant who's early in their college. So I think KRUU is doing a lot of this because I was a part of it also. But I think these are simple ways. You build a referral program, ask these folks to refer others. I think that should have a solid pipeline.
Amazing. On that note, it was wonderful talking to you both. Thanks for all your fabulous inputs. I think I learned a thing or two today on what youngsters are looking for, what young professionals are looking for, and how this has played a part in your life and in the life of the students you have helped. We'll take away a lot of these learnings and improve our product, our offering. But keep spreading the word, keep being ambassadors and evangelists for KRUU. And thanks for all your inputs and thanks for the time. Appreciate it.